with what?
Exactly. So welcome everybody. We are back again for another episode of the B2B Growth Lab. And yeah, today's topic is one extra close to my heart. We can get into that in terms of the why. But and people don't know where they are anymore. I had somebody who offering me a revenue share in their startup, pre-revenue.
Okay.
But I gotta be honest, the last 3 meetings have happened from a car. And I get that everyone's busy, but you want me to help grow your company, I need to really think about who I'm dealing with. So work happens anywhere, everywhere. We can get a lot of stuff done with our phones. It is a miracle, and it also, in my opinion, produces a lot of madness. So again, people don't know where they are, what they're doing. Hybrid and remote teams create a whole bunch more problems than just equipment issues. They reveal gaps in leadership, trust, role clarity, security issues, among a whole bunch of other things. And today, I think we're going to, focus on how to support the people behind the process mostly. But you want to match the role to the environment. You want to build trust with your people. You want to give them autonomy at the same time, the training, the tools, and the support to succeed wherever it is that they work.
Yes.
And then if you are leadership, you're setting the tone and the example. So for God's sake, don't meet with people you're looking to find money for you from a car wash. Like, literally had that experience this week. Put aside the time, pull over, say this is important to me, to you, to our customers, perhaps. So there are times when remote actually works and times when it fails. And you got to match the people, the personalities, the positions to the environments. But most of us have some form of offshore and nearshore talent in some way related to our organizations these days. I mean, the bigger you are, the clearer and more consolidated it is. The smaller you are, the more spread out and disparate it seems. So if you don't have a plan, a system, ideas of what performance even looks like, ways of communicating it, how to establish what accountability is, and then technology that supports it, you're just juggling plates and adding more and more of them. And I think we run out of surfaces to spin plates on at some point. So yeah, that was a little bit longer lead in with a little bit more sharing your story than normal, but let's dig into this. Let's start solving some of these issues, I think, by identifying some of the gaps that you see.
Yeah, I think the biggest gap is the hardest one to solve is also the biggest one, and that's leaders who are competent in leading a hybrid and remote workforce. So
Yes,
I didn't say managing, right? I said leading, and that was very intentional.
why don't you unpack that a bit more so that it really lands? I think that's a brilliant distinction.
You're going to say process-wise management, tools, part of management. No, leadership is communication, inspiration, right? Listening to them. Where are they? Right? If you're going to say we offer work-life balance through work-life integration, well, then you got to treat that salaried employee like a salaried employee. Judge them on their outcomes and the deliverables, right? Did they hit their milestones on time? Not, I looked on Teams at 8 a.m. and they weren't on, right? Now you're
Right.
managing, you're not leading them. Because what if their work day at 8 a.m. is dropping their kids off at school, and that's why they took this hybrid job, and they're on at 9 a.m., right? And they take a break at 3:30 when their kids come home, but then they hop on, right? And they work 4 more hours in the afternoon, right? Who knows, right? But you gotta
Mhm.
flesh that out. You gotta be willing to trust and measure by outcomes, right? Have a regular check-in with them, often at the beginning of the week, sometimes also at the end of the week. How's it going? How's your progress? What are we gonna work on this week, right?
Mhm.
So many leaders don't know how to lead a hybrid or remote workforce. They either become laissez-faire or they become completely overbearing micromanagers. So
I would take it a step further and agree with you by saying many managers don't know how to lead.
that's right. That's right.
And I've just kind of experienced that recently because, as technology improves, more people are taking their ideas to market. And they may have been a decent employee or a great manager with an amazing idea, but that doesn't qualify you as a business owner. There are some gaps to be aware of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm coaching a business client right now who's runs a home window treatments business.
Okay.
They're stuck at that place where they have a job, not a business.
Mhm.
So it's a husband and wife team. They bought into it and they've capped out their revenue, right? Because they can only work so many hours a week.
Exactly.
He's like, Rob, how do I get past this point? Right? This is a typical break point in a business. Very typical. What's the work you could hand off? What's the work you could give away to a part-time person? What are you best at that you shall not hand off? Right? Your greatest
Right.
value add. Well, I think installation, if the person's properly trained, could easily be handed off. So I'm so glad you said that. Because hiring a part-time installer that you pay per installation, someone you trust who's competent, right? Properly trained, right? You give them a uniform, they show up, they rep your brand, you make sure they know the customer service side of it, they understand all the background processes, right? But you
Yeah.
pay them per installation and a bonus for every 5-star review,
Right.
right? You drive the quality output and you drive the throughput, right? That's
Yeah.
that's your first force multiplier ad,
Yeah.
right? And don't want to be ageist here, but in this case, the best, safest play in this from a reliability standpoint will probably be a retired guy who's just looking for a little bit of income.
Yeah. He
He
doesn't
already
want to
has
walk the floor at Home Depot, but like
right,
so many people there could build the damn house for you.
right.
You know,
Already has the tools, knows how to talk to people, can be kind but not demanding, right?
yeah.
So you find the right person and they only want to work 20 hours a week.
Right.
Yeah. So
That's scalable.
what tools you got to give them, right? Well, you probably don't need to give them a corporate phone, right? They probably have their own phone,
Right.
right? You're not running like a massive IT enterprise where you need to have an MDM and 3T1 trunk and all this other right? You're not it's not no, you're selling blinds, shades, curtains, right? Like
Right. You want
Right.
me to buy an extra battery for your cordless drill?
Right. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And then get your
Yeah.
background CRM running, follow up, right? Just like you said on previous calls. How did we do? Rate us out of 5 stars, and anything less than 5 stars, immediate response, right? You get a call.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's a great way for the business owner to spend their time.
you need tools, you need people.
Yeah.
That'll allow them to probably double their revenue in 1 year. That's all
Easily.
they need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, the economy of scale too. I scoped it's a continuing conversation because we're in the blueprint, but meeting with the different parties involved in a $10 million a year company. Meanwhile, today I'd call number 2 with this guy who's at 3.6, but boy, is that second company going to be easier to grow. And it's interesting how clear it is with the leader that I'm speaking with. They understand the process, they understand scalability, they understand this step before that step and the other. And both of them are leaders. Both of them, you have to have a certain amount of vision and be a visionary to say, this is where we're going to go. But one of them is clear that there are steps, and the other one is kind of everything all at once. And, company number 2 is going to scale easily. Company number 1 is going to hit a concrete ceiling every 30 days due to that everything all at once kind of vision. And it's so interesting how clear these conversations are becoming. Now that I'm having enough of them, I can almost hear it in the first 5 minutes of these calls.
Yeah. You
need to have a process and we're drifting a little bit here, but I promise you, when you have that, then you can start looking at the steps backwards and being who, what, how, who, what, how, who, what, how. And some of the where will become very obvious just based on the affordability of the who, what, how. Right? Because the price points are all very, very clear. Like it's, what's the app? I'll remember it in a minute. I used it a lot for traveling, but it is the cost of living index reported by users locally. Such a great little app. You can put any 2 cities in the world on it and be like, here's a loaf of bread. Right? Here's a gallon of milk. Here's a fast food meal or a sit-down dinner. And, that'll tell you exactly how much the thing is going to cost that you need done. Because people generally work to live, they just want to pay their bills, and you understand the environment they're in, then the cost of getting them to do that thing is pretty clear. Right? And then you need to make sure they have the ability. Some of the stuff we covered in the preamble, is the tool there?
Right.
Is the internet stable? Right? Can they actually access it? Do things start falling apart the second they have to log into 2 apps at once? Then there's a bandwidth issue here. Right? And that's a real thing in certain places in the world where there are really intelligent and talented people, but they need to be able to access the stuff. And then you need to start asking some very clear questions about security. Case in point, we were looking at something last week as a potential product. It's new to market. I like the idea of it, but when I got to the onboarding call with the tech lead, who's honestly in a lot of ways better informed than the founder in terms of what's the margin, what's the product, how does it actually work, all that sort of stuff. But it's like, how does it plug into the CRM? It's like, oh, it's just an API. And we opened up the V2 API, and I'm like, okay, which of the 142 permissions do you want? And Buddy's like, well, we usually just accept all.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, so you want whoever to take their CRM and then like basically do the running down the street while stripping off every piece of clothing version of access. Like you're not a tool, you're not an application, you're not a helpful system, you are a security risk, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And so these are the sorts of things that you do need to consider, especially when you're looking at nearshore, offshore, et cetera. And there are extremely affordable solutions to solve these problems as well. Right? So, that's a little plug for just like do your research, please. Because I would love to send these people clients, but I'm very concerned. Your people need tools. Your people need accountability, clarity, role, scope of work. And then they need the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a critical component that gets missed. One of the things we do that I really enjoy is called the company picnic. And once a quarter, we get together without an agenda. With multiple time zones, it gets weird, but the math behind it is you pick a meal. I don't care if it's breakfast or dinner. I'm covering it because I'm not flying that far to take you for dinner.
Right.
And then we actually get together and just hang out.
Yeah.
And do some of the socializing that we don't leave time for in the all hands on deck calls, in the weekly calendar sweep calls, in the project update calls, and all the other operational stuff that we do on a week to week. But I think that produces a lot of relationship building that honestly, I think was just missing before. And you get to find out who the people are that you work with.
Yeah. We used to do a Friday morning, like 30-minute coffee meeting,
Okay.
right? Social, totally social. Not what did you do this week? No work talk. But it almost always centered around what's your plans for the weekend? And that's hopeful and it's positive. It's a chance to come together as a team, right? Everyone is, happy it's Friday. They'll do their work, but their eyes are on the finish line and getting to the weekend. So why not honor that and just have 30 minutes on Friday morning? Bring your coffee, your tea, whatever, right? Remote workers, chance to build relationships, and some people would call from like weird places, right? Like their car or and as a competent leader of a remote and hybrid workforce, I don't care, right? Don't care. I'm glad you called in. As long as you're making your milestones and delivering your work on time, don't care. Right?
Right.
Yeah, tremendous. Tremendous. Engaged team, happy, right? Productive. Discretionary effort, way up.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a thing, right? What you're talking about, it's a step away from that corporate environment because people get caught at the water cooler instead of it being encouraged, right? Let's huddle around the water cooler together for this period of time. So, the environment is a huge component of things. And again, if you're in charge, then we get to dictate what the environment is. Our company picnic, one of the things we used to cover early on, which is part of our onboarding form, is actually the weapon of choice, food of choice and location of choice during the zombie apocalypse.
Nice.
Right? Where are you going to go hide out, live off of, and defend yourself with?
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many conversations would spiral off of that sort of thing of like, well, why that place? And all these things came out of just like being silly one day when we were building this thing to start with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's super important. When I used to wait tables, they would do this thing after closing the restaurant lounge and stuff, and everybody would gather around one of the big tables at the end of the shift. And that was actually one of the rules: is if you got caught doing shop talk, you had to buy the next round. And again, it's just one of those environmental things that helps people decompress, builds relationships, and really sets the tone of the fact that you are more than your job.
And many organizations don't understand how big that gap is in connection when they have a mix between an in-person workforce and a remote workforce.
Right.
So then you end up as the remote person in the office. And how do they treat you? Oh, while you were gone, we moved where you sit.
Right.
Oh, while you were gone, the whole department moved and no one told you about it.
Your stuff is in a box.
Right. Or you show up to the wrong building.
Right.
Right. Now you feel like an idiot, right? Do you feel like part of the team? No. Right.
No.
It's literally things that have happened to me. So all of that, like lack of change management, lack of connection, and then you get all the us and other cattiness,
Mhm.
right? Because the social relationships within the office are, of course, going to be quite strong. But if they're strong closed rather than strong open, they're not welcoming and inviting,
Yeah.
then you're always other. So then you don't belong there.
Even if it's unhealthy and they don't like each other, it still becomes a clique.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a delicate thing to manage. It needs to be managed and led intentionally, right? By people who are mature enough, are selfless enough, are informed enough to move intentionally in a way that makes those remote, hybrid, right, part-time, et cetera, everyone feel a sense of belonging and connection to your workforce. Otherwise, turnover,
Right.
right? Just bad hires are expensive. And it's not because the people you hired were necessarily bad.
Mhm.
Because you didn't give them everything they needed to be successful. Right?
Let's talk about that for a minute. What are the things you can give them to be successful? What's a short list? What are the must-haves to start with?
Such a long list. We have basic things like respect and communication.
Okay.
Right? Then we have tooling. And they say, well, we gave you a phone. Okay, now I have 2 phones to manage. Thank you. Never mind, my phone can take 2 SIMs. Never mind.
Right.
But now I have to charge 2 phones every night. Now I have to carry 2 phones. Now no, that's not, there's no thank you for that. That's a burden.
Right.
And oh, we gave you a laptop and a backpack, but you have no say in it. Okay, that's you asked me to do high-end e-learning development, video production, and you gave me an i5 processor
Right.
and 8 gigs of RAM. Like, what are you doing? And then you tell me external hard drives are banned, right? What you're crippling
Right.
me. You're killing me.
Right.
Killing me. Right? I need a
Sure.
graphics card. I need some overhead. I need memory, right? Like, and I need an external hard drive, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, so they they don't know. They don't think. They can't give you the tools. They can't give you the safety. They can't give you the connection that you need. They're clicky when you show up.
I'm a big fan of frequency. A lot of our people are remote. And so I try to have a minimum of, I want to be in conversation with you 3. So for us, that's the all hands. The check-in, it's even if you don't have anything to report, please show up
Yeah.
so that there's some sort of cadence, right? Because a lot of the other calls are more siloed, more project related, more like where are we, when are we in process. And so even if we don't accomplish a lot in the all hands, it just adds some sort of steady rhythm to the flow. So I'm a big yes for those things. And if you are a hybrid, my recommendation is to have everyone there so that they can all just have that little bit of a hangout thing. It's not a lot of time to ask from people. Just huddle up and hear what's going on. And I think it really helps when other people who aren't directly involved in stuff, only strategically involved or, working in parallel to something, hear that things are moving. I think there's like a psychological safety net too of like, where am I in this thing and how does my work affect anyone?
Yes. Yes. Impact of your work on your teammates and the customer. Absolutely critical for everyone in the business to understand. Yes.
Nice. So what are the tools that people can use? I mean, streaming. I won't drop names. Some are more difficult to log into than others. Some are easier to work inside of than others. Some are a nightmare to screen share during,
Right.
but you can figure that stuff out for yourself out of the big 3. Besides that, I have a personal rule about lead conversion sales happens in the CRM and onboarding and fulfillment happens in some form of project management software. If you're new to this and you don't know which one to buy and they're all a nightmare if you don't have a plan, share a Google Doc. Start there and have everyone type into it during meetings, but I promise you it's better than managing it in your CRM.
Yeah, Google Doc will actually do a checkbox for you and a project assignment if you're within a Google workspace. So
yeah, like
yes.
you can get a lot further ahead than you think.
Yeah.
But yeah, managing client communications and project updates inside of just email, please save yourself the trouble. So those are some of the baseline tools that I talk about. Security is an issue. Not everybody can, have their hardware set up so that you're shipping packages overseas with, a SOC 2 sticker on it, but there are amazing things that you can do to set up a very clean space. We've got a couple of clients who brought certain products to market. I know people who have other products. So I know that stuff exists is my point.
Yeah.
And it can cost as little as tens of dollars a month, up to some of the fancier stuff, which is still just around the 100 per month thing. So honestly, you can probably get yourself up to a higher level of security than most companies just by canceling those few subscriptions you pay for and don't use and repurposing that money to your team anyway.
That's right.
So that's, the rest of my opinion on the tool stuff. Anything you'd add to the tool side, Rob?
We talked PCs, we talked phones, and I sit here at my desktop array with my multiple monitors, and I'm just doing an inventory, right? They bought that, I bought that, the mount I bought, right? The keyboard I bought, and mouse I bought, and base station I bought. Wait a minute. If I was a remote team member and you want me truly to be productive remotely, handing me one monitor and a laptop is not a full work kit for my home.
Got it.
Why did I have to buy all my own peripherals? Why did I have to buy the mount for the monitors? Right? Like if you give somebody a stand-up desk, you got to give them a mount for the monitors. The monitors don't fit on a stand-up desk without the arms, right? It's short-sighted, narrow-minded, right? Like listen to your people. Come on. It goes miles toward them being happy and retained. It's not the whole solution, but it's one of the first milestones to cross.
I'm going to bet anyone $5 that that employee is spending their time scanning Amazon, finding the monitor mount during work hours.
Yes.
Not
Paying for it anyway.
Not waiting till the end of the workday to be like, now I'll go to Amazon to figure out how to get my equipment set up properly.
Right.
And rightfully so. And depending on what you pay them, like finding that piece of gear for them probably costs less.
Right. And never mind, right? Yes, and screws for the mounts need to hit the VESA 4 mount in the back of the computer, and use the wrong length screw, destroy the monitor.
Right.
Right. So you have an unqualified person with no coaching, buying a product, doing a thing they don't normally do, putting your resource at risk, right? It can go wrong in so many ways. You're being petty, right? Like it should come in a kit with an install guide, things to look out for, right? Like hit this QR code for a full video on how to set it up. That's a little fancier, right? Can do, easy, right? Like we're so glad you're here. Here's your remote work kit.
Beautiful.
Box. It's like Christmas, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, I love that. How about strategies? Right. We talked about cadence, the let's actually hang out versions of meetings.
Yep.
Celebrating wins, I think, is something that we didn't cover, but shout outs. Everybody in the team gets to hear how somebody accomplished something. And again, people figure out where their role was in helping achieve that, even if they're not the person on the podium at that time.
Yeah.
Those things help a lot too.
Call them work chat rooms, work Reddits, work bulletin boards, right? All these things, people always gripe about, well, it'll need oversight. No, it doesn't need oversight because it's behind the firewall, but it's otherwise fully public. So act a fool, get held accountable, right?
Right.
Like, don't forget where you are. You're at work. So you don't need as much governance as you would think. But those kinds of places You can name all those rooms like dog pictures and look at my kids, I'm so proud of them. And you can name them topically, and people will participate because they want to feel connected to their workforce. They'll put pictures of their kids and their dogs and like whatever they're doing today. Here's my coffee, right? It's like internal social media, and people will like and thumbs up and comment and oh, but then they're wasting time. No, 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 it's not really wasting. It's time invested in their engagement. It's time invested in their wellness and attachment, right? It only becomes
Yes.
waste when it exceeds a certain threshold or gets in the way of them otherwise accomplishing what you need them to do. So no one is 100% efficient. That's a fallacy. Shoot for 85%, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Another thing, oh,
grace,
go ahead.
a little bit of grace, a little bit of patience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that has been a practice for us for the better part of 10 years now. I had a VA do this years ago. She's no longer with us, but I paid her to populate a Google Calendar with every holiday that she could find. And so one of our things, we end every meeting with this, but every day is a celebration. So, for example, I just pulled this up, but today was comic book day. And for those of you who want two things to celebrate, Saturday is both Europe Day and Lost Sock Memorial Day. And that's the example right there. Every meeting ends with some sort of high note of just that little bit of silliness.
Yes.
But yeah, that calendar has been giving us that for a decade now, and it works still.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Great idea.
Yeah,
Well, I hope our listeners implement some of these ideas we talked about, because rather than just complain, we did talk a lot about solutions on this call.
Yes.
So yeah, what could be in your business? Give them a try, right? We're not etching anything in stone, but set up some of the things we talked about. Watch your culture do a little better, right? Watch your balance sheet improve as it does.
Keep testing, ask your team to participate, and when in doubt, just run a few of those group meetings as brainstorming sessions. And
Right.
they'll give you ideas about how to move things forward and or where things are stuck. That's where you might hear about that monitor arm or, these other little things too, like what would actually make a difference, make your job, work, life easier.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's better to listen than it is to tell. That's interesting.
Yes, as noted on a previous episode.
I think every episode.
Yeah, that is beautiful. That is a great way to sign off. And yeah, thank you so much for all of that, those core components, and just the whole idea that you don't have to know exactly how it's going to go. Invite your people to build it with you.
Absolutely.